welcome back, everybody. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very, very pleased to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-0 to start the 2024.
And Arthur Smith is here to tell us all about it tonight. Arthur, go ahead.
Yes, Arthur Smith Jr. has returned.
This is fucking blasphemy. It's Bill Cowher. Arthur Smith. Listen, I know they're 3-0, but Arthur Smith hasn't done shit yet.
My God, we're not even 20 seconds in, and he's already laying it down.
Shit. And he did better last week.
Scarpino, give me in one word, how do you feel about the Pittsburgh Steelers right now? In one word.
Not sure. Unsure.
Okay. That's a very fair word. Unsure.
Those are two words, though.
No, it's one word.
Is one word.
Unsure is a word.
Unsure.
One word.
Okay. I thought you said not sure.
I did, but then
he corrected.
He corrected it before he got not sure out.
I think unsure is fair.
Unsure.
Yeah. Ben, what would your one word for this team be?
I would say I'm going to go with uncertain at this point. But optimistic. That's 3 words.
It is. Ian, how many words are you going to use?
I'll follow the assignment. My word was going to be optimistic, but if I'm allowed a second word, I would say cautiously optimistic. So that would be my Yes, but if I had to choose one word, it would just be optimistic.
I'm the host, so I'm going to use cautiously optimistic. Absolutely. And this game coming up this week against the Colts is like the perfect setup for us to not play well. It really
shut
is.
up.
No, I'm
Asshole.
sorry. I'm not saying that I'm taking them to lose. I'm not giving that up. I'm just saying this has all those hallmarks of we got some guys banged up, going back out on the road, which we know we can win on the road. It just but I'm with you guys. I'm cautiously optimistic, and that's a lot better than where I thought we would be through 3 games at this point. I mean, I didn't.
I'll take 3-0. I don't know about you guys. I'm like, okay,
right.
Shit.
So with that, does this feel at all like that 2020 team? That started 11-0. I mean, granted, 3-0 with 11-0 is very, very different.
I know, and here's why. I think the 2020 team, the trajectory started here and kind of fell off.
Yeah.
Where I think here the trajectory started in 2024 low and it's going up, and the team seems to be gaining more confidence in itself. Defense is playing really fucking well.
Man,
I mean, really well. And that's why we're winning games. The offense ain't there yet. We know that.
Mm-hmm. Ian, would you like to see this offense open up a little bit?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That said, just one other point about being 3-0.
Yeah.
And I think we made this point last week too, but just to reiterate it, coming into the season, we all talked about how brutal the second half of the schedule is after the bye week.
Yep.
And we all said they have to stack as many wins as possible in the first half of the year before they get into that second half of the schedule. And for better or worse, that's what they're doing. They're stacking wins here.
Yeah.
It's not pretty, but they're getting wins. And, further down the road, you got to get to 9 or 10 wins any way you can get there. Probably 10. You got to get to 10 wins any way you can get there to have a hope at making the playoffs in this AFC. So, and 10 wins might not even get you in, but 10 wins is 10 wins, regardless of if you get them over a bunch of bad teams or a bunch of good teams, you still get into the playoffs. So, they're doing what they need to do at this point to get victories. I think, yes, I'd like to see the offense open up a little bit more. I feel like there's pieces there, but they're all in small sample sizes. It's like, oh, look at these 2 good throws Justin Fields made, or, oh, look at this one good play that Calvin Austin made. And
who's a lot like that? The 2 good throws, Anthony Richardson. That dude is a fucking enigma, and we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
We will. Yeah. We will.
Wow,
yeah.
That dude is
Scarps, I want to give you a little bit of an opportunity here because you've been gone, but also because I don't think you're overly thrilled with what you're seeing out of Arthur Smith so far. So I just want you to
talk about. He's designed his whole look around Arthur Smith, and you're saying I thought it was an homage.
You know,
was I wrong?
Deep down, it could be. Go ahead, Scarps. I'm sorry.
I say I'm unsure about this team because you know, even the defense. I'm not saying the defense is not playing well, but I also look at it is, they faced a quarterback in Kirk Cousins who has not a lot of mobility. He handed it to us multiple times. Bo Nix looks to be a rookie, threw a pick in the end zone. And then Justin Herbert was obviously hobbled. But I do think the defense is doing what they need to do. Offensively, and the Chargers also had a variety of other injuries that happened in that game, and they were just they were done. They were dead.
That's true. That's
they
true.
were dead.
They took some big ones, man. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So, and then on offense, up until midway through the third quarter of last game, we were looking at another rock fight, and then the Chargers were totally gassed. If you look at all three of these games, last week wasn't a one-score game. Imagine that. Mike Tomlin won a game that wasn't a one score.
Right.
And if at the end, Naj easily could have put it in the end zone. But overall, I don't know if this is an unfair question, but has the offense peaked? Because I think
okay, 3 games in. Come on.
Okay, now bear with me here. Can the run game get better? Yes, but
God, yes.
But I say this, that they don't have a legit wide receiver 2 option.
Nope.
And nobody's walking through that door. So
wide receiver 2 is going to be a tight end.
So how much better can this offense really get? I don't know what the answer is, and I'm looking forward to seeing how if the offense can get better. Because, and I'm going to say this, and I can't. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say this.
Yep.
Last year, okay, if Kenny Pickett was still the quarterback, and we were 3-0, and he was doing the same thing Justin Fields is doing right now, we would be saying he sucks. This team sucks. You can't win ugly. And yet, right now, we're fucking thinking AFC North title already, Super Bowl, playoff wins. You can't win ugly with Kenny Pickett, but you can win ugly with Justin Fields. And you all know here, I am not a Kenny Pickett fan, and I'm not crapping on Justin Fields. I'm just simply saying that everybody's sipping the Kool-Aid right now. And I think we need to take a step back and just take it game by game and see what happens.
We say that every single season. The reason that people are excited is that 55-yard play where he threw the ball to Calvin Austin, and Austin ran off and scored a touchdown. The throw was actually just a hair late, but it didn't matter because Fields has got the big arm. And when people see shit like that, they get excited, okay, because they see natural ability. And they're like, oh, my fucking God, I thought this was going to be a busted play. And all of a sudden, it's a touchdown. Holy shit. And things like that drive optimism. And things like that, I'm sorry, Kenny Pickett was not capable of. If Kenny did not throw the ball with anticipation, when he usually didn't.
Listen, you all know I do not like Kenny Pickett.
It didn't work.
Fields did do a much better job distributing it across the field here. He didn't throw a lot down the field, but he worked both sides and the middle of the field and made a good read. It's like that touchdown that Mason threw to Deontay Johnson against the Ravens last year, right? That we said, does Kenny Pickett have the physical ability to make that throw? Probably. Would Kenny Pickett have pulled the trigger with the timing and anticipation that he needed to hit Deontay Johnson in that hole like Mason Rudolph did? Probably not.
Right.
And that was the whole debate of like, oh, Kenny Pickett would never make that throw. I think it's the same thing here. Like the throw to Calvin Austin, could Kenny Pickett physically make that throw? Yes. Would he make that throw? I don't think so. And
if he threw it late, it would have been picked.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the difference. If Kenny throws that ball late, it gets picked. Where Fields can throw it late, he can take those chances because he's got the big arm, and arm strength matters.
Yeah.
It absolutely matters. And
So,
real quickly, I'm sorry to shift gears here, but we're still talking passing game. Roman Wilson, I don't know if that dude is going to hit the field anytime soon at all because Calvin
what are you
Austin.
talking about?
He's not. Calvin Austin, one, he's a slot. The dude is a slot. He's not going to play on the line of scrimmage in the NFL. He is too small. I'm sorry, everybody who really wants him to be Antonio Brown again. The dude weighs 180 pounds. It is not going to happen. He's not beating Jam off the line of scrimmage.
And he's not nearly to Antonio Brown's abilities in terms of footwork. I mean, it's not.
That. AB's bigger. Okay. AB wasn't a big guy, but he weighed over 200 pounds. You know, AB can bench press like 315 5 times and made
AB
sure that
was
the
not
whole
over
world
200 pounds.
Apparently he was. But
so Roman Wilson, though, are we saying he doesn't get a helmet because Scotty Miller's playing?
Because Scotty Miller and Calvin Austin are playing very well, and I don't know how since he's quote unquote trying to jump onto a moving train as a rookie,
right?
Well,
and also beat those guys out for playing time. I don't know how he does it.
I actually think Scotty Miller should get more playing time because he actually, I said it in the chat too, and Mark put it up on the screen, but for the people who are listening at home and aren't watching, Scotty Miller actually showed me some stuff both before the catch and with the ball in his hands that he might be our second best receiver. He's not a number 2 receiver. He is only a slot, but you know, sometimes your slot receiver is actually your second best option. So, and we didn't have a slot receiver last year. So
the fact
like
that he made people miss.
Yeah. He looked pretty nifty in space. He did look pretty.
Yeah.
And I looked at my buddy and I'm like, that guy weighs 175 pounds.
He does. But I mean, I just, how many
Vinny,
times
do not say that. Vinny, that is not
holy
cool.
Shit. Vinny, you know I love you, man. But like,
that is not cool, dude.
But
Vinny is trolling. I don't care what anybody says.
Vinny,
Ryan Switzer vibes.
I hope you're trolling because how pathetic is this conversation we're having right now? That Scotty Miller, second best option. The guy's just.
It's pathetic.
No,
I mean,
you are correct, Scarps. It is. It's pretty bad when Scotty Miller is your second best option. And he might be. I think it's one of the tight ends, honestly. But
yeah, it's probably Freiermuth. But I meant among wide receivers. But Noah's got a good point here.
And the point that Scarps is making, and I don't want to gloss over that, is that Scotty Miller is just a guy. He's just a guy,
right?
And you know
if
what?
he's your second best option in your wide receiver core, there's a fucking problem.
And and back to your Roman Wilson point, I totally agree. And I thought that even before he got hurt, he was going to struggle to see the field because he's a rookie, A. B, he's small, and C, Steelers Sunshine Twitter thought that he was going to be the next Hines Ward. And
D, he missed most of camp.
Yes. And like, you know, I'm not saying that like, you know, and he has had some very good media coaches, whether that's Steelers and Michigan or, you know, both or either way, he's had really good answers when he talked to the media. But you know, I think a lot of Steelers fans thought that he was going to be like an immediate impact. And, you know, even, you know, Ray Fittipaldo for the Post-Gazette even said at one point that he thought Roman Wilson might start the year on IR, and literally Sunshine Twitter was like, "Oh, Ray doesn't know what he's talking about. Roman Wilson's gonna play." The dude hasn't even got a helmet yet, and he's been healthy for 2 games now at least.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So it's like, again, that the wide receiver oh Christ, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but the wide receiver 2 is not walking through that door.
Well, let's go ahead and get
anytime
into
soon.
it.
All right, let's.
Because the rumors are out there, and I'm going to stress they are strictly rumors that the Steelers are monitoring.
They were started by sports books.
Well, of course, and
because they want people.
There's still rumors, though.
They want people to place bets and take their money.
Yes, absolutely. And the point is that there are discussions about DeAndre Hopkins, about Devontae Adams, and who was Christian Kirk out of Jacksonville. These are the three guys, but again, you got to give something to get these guys.
Right.
And Devontae Adams is 32, but he's not going to want to play for peanuts. D-Hop has had injury concerns for years. Kirk, I don't even know what's going on with him right now. I mean, that team, man,
Jacksonville sucks.
A mess. I don't.
Of the three, I think I would want him, honestly.
You might be right.
Adams is 32 and it has peaked. Yep.
I think Kirk would be the guy.
As you pointed out, D-Hop has been battling injuries for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And let's face it, he only runs a couple or three good routes. He's not a guy you want to put on at the X, which is where you'd have to put him. Kirk probably would be, of the three, he'd be the best fit. And he's younger than those two.
Right. Which to me is perhaps the most enticing part of that. Scarps?
No, you're good. I was
okay. So Ian, what does it take to get a guy like that? And are the Steelers willing to do it?
I mean, well, and part of it is like how many years are left on their contract.
Oh, for sure,
right?
Yeah, like there's fucking money involved here.
Yeah.
Yes, and I don't mean to dismiss that.
No, Mark, you know that wasn't towards you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's money involved. Yep.
Yeah, and Christian Kirk signed through 2025, so trading for him, you get another year out of the deal. Hopkins, I think, is only through this year. Adams, I don't remember when his contract expires, but
Adams is signed for 3 more years and
3 more years.
I knew it was.
He has no more guaranteed money left though. So when he gets traded, let's just say he does get traded, he's going to want guaranteed money. He's going to want to sign an extension. He's going to want guaranteed money.
Yeah,
and so the dude is 32, or will be.
Yeah.
So really, what you're talking about at the end of the day, even if you trade for Devontae Adams, if he wants guaranteed money, there's none left in his contract. You can cut him after this year with no salary cap loss. So you're really talking about a rental player at this point, someone you can just get for this year and then reassess next year in free agency. So for a rental player, I mean, you're not giving up more than a 5th round pick at this point, maybe a 4. I mean, I wouldn't give up a day 2 pick is what I'm saying for a 10-week, 12-week rental player. No, trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is still on his rookie contract, who had essentially 3 years of control left because 2 years of his rookie deal, the 5th year option with being a 1st round pick, and then you could franchise him too. So essentially you had 4 years of control there with Minkah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit of a different story, right? He was in year 2 in the league. There was a lot of upside there, and he got you 2 all-pro seasons while still on his rookie contract. He was cheap and performed well. I mean, you're not guaranteed to get all-pro seasons out of a 1st-round draft pick. That was an absolutely good trade. But I don't know.
Good for Omar Khan for making that trade, by the way.
You
should go ahead and clarify that was GMKC so that the listeners don't think that really was Omar.
Right. It was
Omar had nothing to do with that.
Do they, just to refresh my own memory, if in fact Fields does hit that threshold and that pick to the Bears becomes a 4th, that is
51% of snaps,
but it is for 2025, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that, I mean, technically that's a pick that they probably can't afford to give up. If they're going to have to send it to the Bears. Thinking down the road. I I can see them sticking with what they got, and I know that sounds insane, but I really can.
No, that's what they're gonna do. They're not.
Yeah.
Unless
I just, you know,
unless
they can get a screaming deal from somebody who just they're ready to cut the guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, then I can see something happen at the trade deadline where they're like, yeah, we're cutting this guy anyway. Will you give us something?
Sure.
Honestly, the best hope was if like T. Higgins had refused to play for Cincinnati, and since he was like, we'll just trade him, screw this guy, but he came back. So it was, like Ben said, unless some players out there that's going to get cut for some unknown reason, which has happened before with players.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it. Maybe if Jacksonville goes in the tank and they're like, well, Christian Kirk's the highest paid player on our team right now. Why don't we just let him go and not have to pay him?
Well, Trevor Lawrence is, and he sucks, and that's their problem.
So
$55 million a year.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a cautionary tale right there.
He does more phantom spins than Kenny Pickett.
Dude, that was weird.
So strange how.
Weird.
Yeah,
it was just like, what is this guy on fucking acid or something? What the hell are you spinning away from? And then you spin into a sack. The fuck is wrong with you?
Scarps, what did you want to say? Then I want to
just real quick. Davante Adams is going to be 32 years old.
Right.
He has a contract for a couple more years, but there's no guaranteed money on his contract after this year. So. Obviously there has to be some sort of restructure or extension or whatever you want to say it. But like, a guy with that sort of pedigree isn't going to sign for peanuts. So if he's a 2024 rental, you're going to have to pay him to stay. And like the market's only going up, and the market went up because of Christian Kirk, who obviously Steelers fans want to sign to trade for now. In Jacksonville, I'm looking at that. Like, it looks like Jacksonville has a pretty decent dead cap hit, regardless of what they do with him, if they would get rid of him. And then DeAndre Hopkins, he is already 32. He looks slow. He looks hurt. He has missed, I think, 17 games over the past 3 seasons. And then getting back,
D-Hop would be the cheapest one to trade for of the 3 you're discussing right now.
But he's a UFA, and he's a UFA. So like he literally has no contract next year. So maybe he would be willing to stay. But here, I want to go back to this point: is credit Omar for almost trading for Brandon Ayuk.
Come on, let's be serious. No,
and if you go back to the details in that, was that the Steelers did not offer him $30 million a year. They offered him like 27.5 or 27.2.
Probably less than
like
what
that.
TJ was getting.
Yes,
less than 28.
Right? So my point is they're not like these guys. Davante Adams is absolutely going to ask for a certain amount of money, and I don't think the Steelers will be comfortable paying for that. The Steelers were comfortable paying Brandon Ayuk a certain figure that was, I think, was it like, did the Patriots offer him like 32 a year? So like
it might have been 33.
So it's like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the shittiness that has become the platform formerly known as the Bird app, but like Steelers fans fall in love with these mock-up jerseys with other players in black and gold, and they fall in love with all these polls and all these sports book odds and all this shit, when in reality it never happens.
No.
And I don't understand why we think that it's all of a sudden going to change, because Omar may or may not have been this close to trading for Brandon Ayuk.
It's almost like reality TV.
He was not close. Okay. No one on this show thought that was going to happen. Okay.
I get it.
And why do we do that? Because we fall in love with fantasies. And because Steelers Twitter is dumb.
Well, because people start thinking about, wow, I want to get that guy's jersey. Wow, that guy's gonna, do
Steelers
this.
Twitter thinks that they can speak things into existence. They think if they say it hard enough, and they
Yes.
believe it hard enough
Yes.
that they can make it happen, and then they can
Right.
exercise
Right.
the demons
Keep
of all their
screaming
bookmarks.
Beetlejuice. See what happens.
They can
You
they
know?
can exercise the demons of all their bookmarks by going back at all the people that said it wouldn't happen and showing, hey, I told you, dude. Change your fucking priorities, man, and look at this team long term. Stop looking at this year. This is not a contending team.
So
I don't give a shit what wide receivers you have. This team will not contend for a Super Bowl this season, and the Steelers know that. They know they're building a team over a period of time. They're going to acquire talent over the long term that gives them a strong team, because that's the way they build teams.
So D. Drew's 1914 brings up the Ayuk stats for this year. Okay.
Yep.
Now let's add some context to it. Their best player is hurt, and he's currently in Germany trying to find.
Rumor is he might be done for the year.
Trying to find some.
After seeing a specialist
treatment.
in Germany, it's like that's not going to happen. You're probably not playing this season.
Debo is hurt. George Kittle is hurt.
Yep.
Ayuk also didn't participate in training camp.
Yep.
But you know what? And I'm not saying D. Drews, whoever you are, probably a burner. Don't bless your heart regardless. But you were not you, but Steelers Nation would have given anything to get Brandon Ayuk.
Many people would have.
So we could all sit there and look at his stats right now and be like, oh, I didn't want this guy. You're full of shit. 95% of Steelers Nation would have given their fucking firstborn to get.
We
Brandon
all would
Ayuk.
have been happy if it had happened, but we didn't think it was going to, right? Can I say that?
Plus the price of it. None of us could see it. We couldn't justify it in our minds that we're going to bring a guy in and pay him more than any other player.
We all would have been happy if they traded a second and a day 3 pick for that dude, and even if they gave him $27.5 million a year or whatever, we all would have been happy it happened. We just would have been surprised, right? Can I say that?
You were going to see sooner rather than later that by them not acquiring a wide receiver 2 or the level of Brandon Ayuk, that it's going to hurt them offensively.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where I want to.
And we talked about this before week 1. And the question that Mark put out at the time was it a failure? And I think we all agreed that, yes, it was a failure because they traded Deontay Johnson on March 12th. They had the entire offseason, the entire thing to replace him, and they never did. And that was the failure. The Ayuk thing was not the failure. Then not replacing Johnson in some form or fashion,
right?
That's a failure. Because Dante Jackson's playing pretty well. So that was actually a nice ad. I gotta say, I hope Dante Jackson sticks around.
He's dinged up. He gets dinged up. It seems every single game, but he plays hard. He plays
small, but he's fun to watch.
Which I'm fine with. I want to stay on the offense because I do want to get into the running game or that lack thereof, especially early on. I would love to be able to say that, hopefully plugging in Isaac Somalo this week is going to suddenly cure everything. I think it's going to help, but if he does play
this week,
I don't know that he will either. But
sounds like Mason McCormick's going to start there.
He's better than Spencer Anderson, though.
Yeah, I think McCormick's going to take that. I think Broderick Jones was not perfect. I think he had a nice bounce back from troubles. Yep, way better. I think he, again, as Scarp said, you got to have context. He was going up against a Bosa that was hurt, and didn't even finish the game. So
and what did he play? Like a third of the game? And I think Philip makes a really good point here that he'd rather draft a wide receiver than overpay in trade. And I agree. And it's just because the Steelers are so good at drafting wide receivers.
Hey, Najee, and I y'all know I'm critical of Naj, but you know what? He's literally the only running back in a scheme that's not working, and he's kind of producing.
He's running like his hair's on fire. Yeah.
The dude is busting his ass. I will never not appreciate the level of effort he's putting in.
His effort and commitment and everything. I mean, and he, young man could have easily just kind of said, "Woe is me," when he didn't get the 5th-year option, and he's kind of gone in the complete other direction. And I'm really impressed with him in that sense. Is he the best running back? No. I mean, there's times when you're like, geez, Naj, hit the hole or do this, do that, but you can't argue with his effort.
You know what? And also, too, he's always available. And Jalen Warren, and Ben, I know you hate fantasy football, but I'm 3-0 in our SCB league. I'm the only undefeated.
Here we go.
Saying, but
Cool.
he
You should answer this question next.
But he's always available. And Jalen Warren was the darling of the fantasy draft. Everyone's like, oh, fuck, he's going to take Naj's spot. Jalen Warren has like 12 touches this year, maybe more than that. But like,
dude can't like walk back to the huddle without limping.
And then Cordarrelle Patterson's getting like snaps.
Cordarrelle Patterson touches the ball every time he's on the field. I don't understand the need to force feed.
He's got naked photos of Arthur Smith on his phone.
Cordarrelle Patterson does every time he lines up in the backfield. I agree with you, but when they split him at wide receiver, he doesn't. Then the problem
they've
is
thrown him a few passes too.
Yeah, okay, but the problem is when he's supposed to be playing the X, he never lines up on the line of scrimmage, and then they get an illegal formation penalty.
That's also true
because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. But back to the point at hand, because Philip and D. Drews both asked it. Do we think the Steelers will offer James Daniel a contract at the end of the season? No, I do not, and it's not because he's playing poorly, although I didn't think he played very well in Denver. But the reason that they're not going to offer him a contract and did not even attempt to extend him is that good guards are making $20 million a year plus. And if you have a guy in McCormick that you like, and you have a guy in Selamalo who is, what's he making? $8-10 million a year? I don't know. He's affordable.
Mm-hmm.
You move on. You move on. You got a center you're going to have to pay. You got 2 tackles you're going to have to pay. And they're going to make big money. So you don't tie up a whole bunch of money in James Daniel.
You have to make your law. Where am I going to cut? And
you got a budget, just like everybody else. You got a budget.
Yep. He was the odd man out, and
you got a few guys on defense that are eating a whole lot of the cap too.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going to have to extend TJ soon.
Yeah, that's a product of experience and accomplishment, right? So TJ is going to be the highest paid player on the team. Probably. Well, if they got to do a quarterback, I don't know, but certainly in the defense.
Well, let me just stay with the offense real quick. The running game. There were a couple of things. I was a little surprised not to see some more designed QB runs, but I think that might be more of a product of they're terrified of Fields getting hurt right now, because then they would have to roll with Kyle Allen. So maybe that's part of that reason. But, I think Warren, remember he had the hamstring in preseason, and now it's a knee, which, I worry about his long-term health for the season now at this point. I don't know if they're ever going to get him 100%.
You wonder if they shouldn't just sit him down for a couple of weeks. He hasn't practiced this week.
No.
Maybe that's a good thing,
No.
Maybe sitting for a little while is a good idea.
I know you posted it, but did Naj practice today?
Yeah,
he did. Okay,
and Najee sat yesterday because they wanted to rest him.
Right. Yeah,
that's all.
A lot of rest and stuff.
A lot of work. So you need a lot of rest.
Yeah. As far as I will probably say this every week for the next 14 or 15 weeks, but I continue to just absolutely love watching Zach Fraser play the center spot.
Dude, especially in run blocking.
Yes, it's absolutely
just grabs guys and
you get. He does. He just is destroying people, and it's just awesome to watch. I sound like I'm fangirling here, but let's be honest, I am. It's just great. He's a kid that just gets after it. He's playing like he has absolutely no cares in the world, and that's how you got to play the center position sometimes.
He's playing like he loves it, like it's fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Shit.
You love the game.
great.
So let me ask all three of you guys one more thing about the offense, and we'll talk a little more defense. Ian, you said that you'd open it up a little bit more. What does that look like for you in your mind?
Yeah, I'd say push the ball down the field to Pickens a little bit more. Give him a couple more go routes to try and stretch the safeties out, because right now teams are stacking the box against us, which is making it really hard for Naj to get any kind of running room. And you looked at the passing chart from the last game, and I said I was impressed that Fields spread the ball around the whole field, but pretty much everything was under 20 yards. Push it down the field. You don't have to do it all the time, but 3 or 4 shots a game. Let Pickens take a chance on a 50-50 ball. And I mean, George Pickens is a hell of an athlete. I mean, he's got that F it, George is down there, let's just throw it up to him, see what he can do ability. And you really don't have another option in the passing game. And trying to matriculate the ball down the field has worked so far. But a lot of that is actually Justin Fields scrambling or picking up third downs with his feet. And he's done a good job of it so far, but that's not really a sustainable way to run an offense. You got to pick up chunk plays at some point. So
Yeah.
I think you got to just take those couple shots. And I'm not saying you got to throw deep over the middle, that you got to, bring the safeties into it or anything. The crossing route they threw to Calvin Austin was a perfect kind of play where, you throw it as a, 15-yard in cut and try and get him in space in the zone. And if he can cut between the safeties and take it a long way, that's perfect. But stretch him on the outside a little bit.
So your big thing is maybe take some shots with Pickens. Yeah. Okay. Scarps, what would you do? You I mean, obviously you think the offense needs to be better, but how do you go about doing that?
I don't know if it's just personnel or execution. I think that could definitely help in the run game. But I'm going to agree with Ian. I just think they're very limited in several areas, and their best shot is to take a shot. I'm not as high on George Pickens as others are. I don't think he is the best route runner. But if we're talking,
do you agree though that if he's one-on-one against a guy,
if he's one-on-one, and if he's one-on-one, I would probably throw the ball to him and see what happens. But again, they don't have a backup at wide receiver. They do, but they don't. And I just think that is the longer this goes on, there's 3 different games. There's 3 different tapes of Arthur Smith. So opposing teams can sort of look at tendencies and trends and whatever you want to call it. And they could hone in on Pickens and make somebody else beat them. And I don't know who that other person is. We're not getting a lot out of our tight ends. So yeah, if they throw a couple 50-50 balls to Pickens a game, I guess I can live with that. But I think they're very limited.
Just real quick, and then I'll let Ben answer this. But you mentioned Freiermuth. His stats through the first 3 games are almost kind of bizarre.
It sounds like a $50 million tight end.
4 catches each game, so he's got a total of 12. 33 yards, 39 yards, 27 yards.
Fuck no touchdown. That is what you call TN1.
Guys,
TN?
He's not even going to be in the top 10 in
Travis TN?
In terms of tight end earners, he's not even going to be in the top 10 next year.
No.
Okay?
No.
So let this go. The whole contract thing, it was a market contract. I'm sure that his team wanted a lot more money than that. They didn't get it. It is what it is. But back to the point at hand, I'm going to disagree with both of you because the Colts defense is terrible.
Oh, boy.
In particular against the run. And so they're going to play a lot of cover 2 in order to try and limit the big play, which limits your ability to throw the long ball. So I'm going to say try to continue to hit the middle of the field. Distribute the ball all over, get more people involved. I'd really like to see that. I'd like to see more than just a couple or 3 targets. There are 4 guys right now. There's Calvin Austin, there's Freiermuth, and there's Pickens. And everybody else they kind of ignore because why cover those guys? They don't throw them anyway. They don't throw to them. So who gives a shit? Get the ball, spread it around. Let's hit a bunch of different people.
Just real quick, Ben. Derek was talking today on the Bird app and was saying that Gus Bradley is playing a lot more single high safety than he has previously.
He has.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I agree with you. I think
I think this week, because of Pickens, they will play a lot of 2 high.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see what happens with it.
I don't think that anybody's really that scared of our run game, frankly.
No.
So you're not going to run a lot of heavy boxes yet.
However, the Colts' run defense is dog shit. They are
horrible.
Buckner's already out.
It is fucking horrible.
Yeah,
they don't have a Derwin James in there.
No,
playing safety who can basically be 2 guys in the box because he's so fast. They don't have that guy, so it's going to be more difficult. But by the same token, what'll happen is if they try and play single high, Fields has grown as a quarterback, in my opinion, watching him, especially last week, and holding the safety with his eyes to one side and then throwing it the other way, he's getting better at. And he's getting the ball out quick. Fields is
totally agree.
Fields is growing. He's still a game manager. Sorry, Fields fans. He's still a game manager, but inside what he's being asked to do, he's playing efficiently. So I'm fine with it. It's okay. But what I'd like to see them do is open up the playbook a little bit more, as we've discussed.
In what manner?
Maybe take some shots, but what I want them to do is get the ball to more people, have more people touching the ball, have 10 guys touch the goddamn ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And throw in the middle.
I'm a kid.
Throw on the sides. Throw all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Don't focus on those 4 guys just because they've had some success with those guys. Get it all over the place.
What I would like to see is
fuck off, Aaron.
I would like to see him get out of the pocket a little bit more on design rolls and boots and use his legs when necessary to pick up 3 or 4 yards, almost become kind of an extension of the running game. And because he throws well on the run. I mean, you look at some of the dimes he's already delivered when he's been moving his feet. He's proven he can do that. And then that way too, you cut the field down. You don't force him to have to read the whole field. So really, those are the only things I'd like to see differently. I think last week really kind of was a perfect illustration of what Mike Tomlin loves to do. The running game really wasn't there in the first half, but he was able to keep his defense fairly fresh. He got rid of their quarterback. They had to go with a backup. And what does he do? He comes in the second half and he just pounds the shit out of their defense with our running game. And I think he's just over there smiling. I think that's exactly what his game plan would be every single week.
If he can get a 10-point lead, a 7-point lead, and his defense remains fresh because his offense has been efficient enough to move the chains and hang on to the ball.
Yes.
He's going to do that all goddamn day. He's just going to be like, well, if you're going to let me, I'm doing it.
The next thing I want to move to is the defense. And more specifically, I want to talk a little bit about Nick Herbig, because he and DeMarvin Leal are going to have to step in now for Alex Highsmith, who it's going to be a few weeks with a groin. So we're going to be without him. And again,
speaking
to Scarps'
of Steelers
point,
Twitter being dumb.
Yes, Scarps' point earlier, I love Nick Herbig. I love the way he plays. I love the hustle, the effort. I love all those things. But I'm not convinced he's going to be an every down outside linebacker right now. I don't know that he's going to be able to withstand having to set the edge.
What I told Bozick last week, Mr. B, who's since he's watching the show right now, is Nick Herbig is a one-trick pony. But that one trick is fucking stellar.
It is. It is. So do you think, Ben, you're going to see DeMarvin Leal in there on running downs?
I think we're going to see a mixture, and it's not just going to be rundowns. They're going to give Leal an opportunity to rush the passer too, just to see what he can do.
Sure.
But yeah, I think we'll see Leal a lot. We'll also see Herbig in there on some rundowns again to see what he can do. It's early in the season, and they're going to want to try and develop this kid, and he's got to get better at setting the edge.
Yes.
And the best way to get better at that is get reps in games.
What about the concern? Because TJ Watt's going to need a blow too. They're going to have to really manage this rotation.
I
I
know you're right. So what do? You put Herbig in there? I don't.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to have an emergency situation, who goes in and plays as the fourth edge guy if necessary.
Well, you're definitely going to dress Leal as a defensive player, defensive lineman, outside linebacker. But then, I mean, you're right. They're going to have to dress an additional outside linebacker. So have 4 total, and that guy's going to have to play teams. So,
no, I agree with you. I'm curious to see where it goes. Look, I want nothing more than Nick Herbig to go out there and prove me 100% wrong, and beat the shit out of people in both the run and the pass.
Regardless of what we think, Herbig will go in there and he'll make an impact in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
That will happen 100%. Will he also get victimized in the run game? Probably.
Yeah. Ian.
To Philip's point here in the chat, he asked if Alandon can play edge, which I don't think Alandon can play edge.
No.
But what they could do is they could actually run a set with 3 inside linebackers with Alandon Roberts, Patrick Queen, and Peyton Wilson all together.
That's what I was thinking.
With, almost like a heavy nickel where it's like a 2-5-4 where you put those, because with Jonathan Taylor at running back, I mean, they could run a draw play on 3rd and 13. You want some more linebackers on the field and somebody to kind of spy that. So
that's fair.
I could see them, instead of running a heavy nickel with 3 safeties, which they've done that before, running it with 3 inside linebackers. So, I think they have a lot of depth at inside linebacker right now that they have options there.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have a lot of depth at safety. I mean, they signed Terrell Edmonds. They've got, Elliott's playing really well. Minka's playing very solid ball. So
is Deshaun Elliott the best signing this year? I mean, I think he might be
really good.
He might be.
He's just so solid, man, and affordable. And just, I'm like, dude, I really hope this guy, he's only signed for 2 years. I really hope he signs an extension.
It's early.
And I think people look at the fact that Minka doesn't have a pick yet, and they're like, hey, what's going on? But just watch the way Minka plays, and I immediately attribute that to what Elliott's doing.
Yeah.
I think
Minka
Elliott is
so much freer than last year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not to say that Minka doesn't still come flying up and make stops against the run, but at least he doesn't have to do it every freaking play like he was doing in years past, So I don't know.
Good question though, Philip. Yeah,
it is, because they're going to have somebody that can do it. And, and to your point, Ian, I can see a scenario where they do have those 3 guys on the field.
We don't have an Arthur Moats type guy on the team this year.
No, that's another good pull right there. Arthur Moats.
The other thing they could do too, which I don't know if they've done it. I think they did it once in the past. I'm trying to remember who it was against. Maybe the Bengals, where they ran. They they almost ran like a 3-3-5 kind of defense where it was you had your 3 down linemen. So in this case, it would be like Cam, Benton, and Ogunjobi, and then like 1 outside linebacker and 2 inside guys, and then 5 defensive backs. So that's another option too, that if they could kind of rotate things depending on personnel and all that.
They've done that a lot with big
depending
nickels.
on like strength and stuff. They were walking up that side guy on
they've done that a lot with big nickels, where you've got 3 guys down in a 3-point stance, and you've got 1 guy in a 2-point stance, and you got 2 linebackers behind that, and
you kind of shift the defensive line over, shift the linebackers around,
and then 5 DBs, and that could work. You're right, and especially if they dress Edmonds.
It's almost like a 3-3-5 overset, I guess.
Although, have you
not
noticed
to get
they
too
listed
technical
Edmonds?
on the podcast?
They listed Edmonds as a free safety.
Yeah, that was strange.
I was like, that dude does not play free safety.
No, I that was odd. I
not at all.
I did want to shift gears just a little bit here before we talk a little more about the Colts game. The Oakland Athletics baseball team played their final game today at the old Oakland Alameda Coliseum, and that stadium served as the home to both the baseball team and, of course, the old Oakland Raiders. And Mr. Scarpino, I believe you have had the opportunity as a former employee of the Steelers to go to that particular stadium. And do you have any fond memories of playing out in Oakland during your stead?
Did you ever get an MRI there?
No, it was an X-ray machine.
X-ray machine.
It was an X-ray machine.
I thought it was the MRI machine. It was an X-ray machine?
It was X-ray.
I don't even think they had urinals.
I wasn't there for that one. That was after I left. It was an old stadium. It smelled like shit. There was literally shit coming out of the sewer. I remember the opposing press room was in the Oakland Athletics weight room. And it was the only weight room at the time that was actually worse than the Pittsburgh Steelers weight room. It was bad. It was just small, and like I remember like setting up the backdrop and like being like, wow, this is a really shitty facility. And it smelled so bad. He smelled so bad. And like literally like you could see like sewage bubbling out of the grate. And like I remember there was like an NFL Network guy setting up the camera, and I was like, oh man, I was like, it stinks in here. He goes, yeah, you're not here all the time. And it's like, yeah, thanks, man. You're used to being here. But like I'm sitting there thinking like, because like watching Moneyball, it's like, is this where Billy Bean fucking traded Giambi or tried to This is where Billy Bean tried to fill Giambi's shoes and called Scott Hatteberg that couldn't throw.
Wow.
It's just, I mean, we've seen this.
0-2 in Oakland. I never won in Oakland.
That stadium, just as a visitor, and I was only there. I was there 3 times. Once during baseball season and twice during football season. And the first time I went there, we took the train there. We took the BART.
Oh shit!
And I got off the BART, and I was like, "Oh my god, why the fuck did we take the train here? This was a terrible idea." It is in a really bad part of Oakland, and Oakland is really shitty.
Overall,
really shitty. So when you say it's a really bad part of Oakland, it's fucking bad. That is a bad part of the country. And yeah, the worst stadium I've ever visited. I mean, I've been in high school football stadiums that were far superior to that thing. It was a piece of shit stadium. It was awful. I mean, like the bathrooms in that place were even worse than the bathrooms in the old Three Rivers, which were disgusting. I mean,
Yep.
legendarily disgusting. Oh my God, dude. Oh,
I think when you're a fan of a team, you can look at other organizations and you see, they were there for 57 years, and they're leaving, and I do feel bad for those fans, but at the same time, the players deserve to play in something better than that.
I mean,
I would say that.
going back to the 70s, there were things like the Raiders would turn off the hot water heaters
I remember that. Yeah,
in the visitors'
I remember
locker
hearing
room.
about it. Yeah.
Yep.
In the visitors' locker room, they would turn off the hot water heaters, so you had to take a cold shower after the game. They would. I mean, we all know the story about Ben and the MRI / X-ray machine, whatever the hell it was,
Yeah.
where they couldn't get the machine to run, so they weren't sure if Ben could come back into the game. So who
That was Josh Dobbs, wasn't it?
It was Josh
I
Dobbs.
believe it was Dobbs.
Yeah.
Josh
Yep.
Dobbs. Yes, it was, because I remember being pissed off about it, and I was like, if Landry fucking Jones had played that game, we would have won and we would have gone to the goddamn playoffs.
That's
Josh
right.
Dobbs was terrible, and I tweeted about it. Didn't even at Josh Dobbs about it, and he blocked me for it. So Josh
that's what he
Dobbs,
gets for
You know who
searching
was
his own name.
inactive that game that could have also won the game?
who?
Mason Rudolph.
Mason? Probably. Dobbs. So Dobbs is obviously one of those guys who goes through and searches for his name like Mark Madden.
Wow.
He is a rocket scientist, though. Josh Dobbs.
Super genius. Let's talk a little bit about the Colts, and I know it was brought up real early in the chat by somebody
They're terrible.
that about Anthony Richardson. Look, the dude is
I think
very
it was Vinny in
large.
I
the
brought
chat.
it up.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I brought it up. And
very
it's just-
large, very athletic, but he's gonna turn the ball over. And,
but here's the thing about Anthony Richardson is that he's an enigma. He can make these throws that are incredible.
yeah,
And you're like, how the fuck did you do that? Like,
right.
95% of the guys in the NFL could never make that throw,
Mm-hmm.
ever. And then there are simple routine plays, like Tomlin talks about doing routine things routinely, that he can't make. He can't fucking do it. Throws that 95% of the guys in the NFL would make, he can't make. The dude,
I'm more worried about his overall athleticism than I am him throwing the ball.
I'm less worried
Because
about that.
I can see us rushing the passer, bouncing off of him, and when he scrambles for a few first downs.
Our linebackers can run.
I agree. And when I say worry,
the Steelers,
I'm not,
the Steelers have been getting pressure with 4 guys all year. I mean, okay, all year is the wrong way of putting it. 3 weeks in.
right.
What are they blitzing? 13% of the time. I mean, if you can get pressure with 4 guys, why blitz? Fuck it.
I totally agree with you. They did bring some more pressures the other day, and it paid off because one of them led to a sack, and it led to Justin Herbert leaving the game. When they brought Roberts, and so
there are Chargers fans that think that Cam stepped on his ankle on purpose.
oh my God, they think that
Cam-
Hayward has
Cam
a
was
vendetta or something.
Cam was not looking at the guy. Herbert was behind him and falling forward and stepped on his ankle. And people think he did. I'm like, how the fuck would you do that? Running full speed,
Well,
falling forward, falling forward.
Before this week, I didn't know that the Chargers had fans. I thought they were just like, I
knew they had
plucky bunch
fans.
of
Yeah, there's
Twitter
a few out there.
people that their Twitter account always puts out some funny stuff, especially with the schedule release and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
they might be the most delusional fan base on Twitter. Like
They're up there, man. They are up
the
there.
extent that they went to
the vocal minority that's on Twitter might be the most delusional.
Well,
I agree with what you're saying.
yeah.
Jonathan Taylor is obviously a very good running back. I think they'll try to run the ball, but at the same time, they know what they're going up against.
Their offensive line's not great.
No, I think you've got 56. Quentin.
Yeah. He's good.
He's very
Quentin
good.
Nelson, yeah.
Nelson, thank you.
Yeah.
And so they've got some guys, but I think this again is one of those games where if Justin Fields takes care of the ball, we play our typical defense that we've played. We're going to get some turnovers. I think we'll be fine. But again, the NFL has been proven the last couple of weeks is a week-to-week league, and you just don't know what the hell's going to do.
Well, we talk about it. We talk about it every year. The complexion of the league changes every 4 weeks.
Yep.
But as far as Chargers fans go, and actually fans in California in general, I don't know what it is about California stadiums and why there are fights there every goddamn week that are so bad.
Yeah.
That somebody ends up taken away in a fucking ambulance.
Yeah.
But it happens there every week. So they definitely have fans that are rabid about their teams.
Aaron mentioned CJ Henderson, the fact that we signed him, and Ian, I'm just going to repost what you said in the comments here, because it's accurate to, I know what I would have probably said. The guy was a great talent coming out of college, drafted in the top 10 of the first round of the draft in Jacksonville, and just has never really lived up to that. So fine, take a shot at him. He maybe gives you some, depth down the road or something, and who knows, maybe you strike gold. But I don't.
And they signed him to the practice squad. I mean, right. I'm not going to get worked up about signing somebody to the practice squad. It's an extremely low risk investment for a guy with some upside. So
yeah. I think this is kicking the tires times 10.
A lot of these guys, for sure, it's absolutely 100% kicking the tires. But a lot of these guys they bring out of the practice squad, they bring him in and going, if we can't get this guy to help us as a reserve, we can have him play teams, and we can make him active for game day only. I mean, basically, the practice squad now with the current rules, it's an extension of your roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's is it 18 guys now? It's 18 guys in the practice squad.
A lot.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I think
so. I mean, basically, it's 71 guys now, and any of those guys in the practice squad, you can kind of go, well, we're gonna make this guy active this week. And I really don't understand the rules. It's supposed to only be 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a guy active, and then you have to add him to the roster. But some of those games don't count for some reason. Like if you don't play enough snaps, if you don't play enough snaps, that week doesn't count, even though they had to pay you and you were on the active game day roster.
It used to be so simple, and now it's so
so convoluted.
Yes.
I'm like, no, that guy's been active already for 3 weeks, but they activated him again. How is that? That doesn't make any. And then I'm going back and reading through the rules, and I'm like, subsection C. A3.
Oh Christ, I know.
I'm like,
I just want to break.
If the guy plays fewer than 6 snaps that week, it doesn't actually. And I'm making this shit up. I'm sorry as I go along.
No, you're there.
It's so convoluted that I'm like, fuck, I'm never gonna remember this. Okay. Moving on.
Well, I just wanted to comment real quick. Aaron posted that Micah Parsons is leaving the Thursday night game on a cart, and yes, we do play the Cowboys next week. And obviously, I don't ever root for guys to get hurt, but obviously that'd be a huge advantage for us if Micah Parsons
how many
can't
more
play.
How many more advantages are we going to get?
Hey, you just say thank you and you keep going.
This happened. I don't know, a handful of years ago. We looked at our schedule and we were like, "Fuck, this is brutal."
Oh, remember all that string of quarterbacks that we were supposed to play?
And they all got hurt, and then it was like
last year, literally last year.
Yeah, last year had some. Yeah,
last year had some advantages too, but it was it 19?
I think it was 17.
The 17.
I think it was 17. It was I think it was the year we went 13-3 because.
What happened that year? Did we win a playoff game?
No, Ryan Shazier got hurt, and we went from giving up 14 points a game to giving up 21 points a game in the game.
After that. Yeah. Actually, it was 22.7 points per game. But after that,
Al Michaels looks like how I feel.
He's
really, you that old, Scarps?
It really is
No, I
sad.
just feel
I
like
mean,
shit.
he will always be. Do you believe in miracles to me? And it's just
Goddamn
sad.
right.
Just sad seeing what he's become. He's
It's all right.
I
I mean,
mean,
everybody
he-
gets old, dude. That was 40 years ago. 44.
absolutely everybody gets old. I'm not knocking him for it. I'm just simply saying that I mean, Al, maybe it's time, buddy. I mean,
Dude's lived a good life. Good for him.
He's
He
lived
should
a great
retire
life.
probably at this point.
Yes. Well, I mean, shit, he's got to work with fucking. Well, actually, what he works with Herb Street on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not bad. Collinsworth is the one
What
I
were we
wouldn't want to
talking
work
about?
with, but
There was a year that a bunch of quarterbacks who were supposed to play.
I think
got
it was
hurt.
17.
yeah.
And by the way, those of you listening at home, we've been doing this for a while now.
We have been.
Yeah, I
Doing
mean,
what
you
for a
just-
while?
You never know what's going to happen. You can have
No.
guys get hurt, and the whole
Right.
thing changes. And
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the back end of the season this year. Who the fuck knows, man? The Bengals defense sucks ass. It kind of doesn't matter how
Right.
many points their offense can score because their defense is so fucking bad. The Ravens, I think, are still going to be good. It is what it is.
I do too.
The Browns, we thought they were going to be respectable at the beginning of the season.
That's a
Now
mess.
they're a clusterfuck. Offensively, they're a mess, and apparently there are a lot of issues in their locker room because,
Mhm.
well, they got this
I'm
guy they
shocked.
paid a whole bunch of money to at quarterback, and he sucks, and the team's rebelling.
Yep.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great for us. We're just flying under the
Schadenfreude.
radar, and I love it.
Schadenfreude. Fuck you, Cleveland.
Schadenfreude. It's a French word. In any case,
The
Coming
French
up this
word to go
weekend.
fuck yourself.
the Steelers will play in Indianapolis at 1 p.m. on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. And that is a very nice stadium there, Lucas Oil. Indianapolis is a great town. Everything's very centrally located. So a great place for Steelers fans to converge. But
Do not go to the White Castle there.
however,
Why?
do not go to the White Castle in Indianapolis.
Why?
Why?
Well, because there's probably a memorial to Scarps there, or something like that.
Scarpino?
I went to the White
no, that
Castle
was
in
Ian.
Indy at like 2 a.m. once, and that was a
Right.
mistake.
Yeah, big
Who
mistake for
was-
Ian.
Why
Who
was it a mistake?
Who was the assistant offensive line coach that bought you guys all those burgers? Where the hell was that?
Sean Surratt. That was in
Surratt.
Carolina.
That was
Where
Scarps,
was
yeah.
that?
It was in Carolina.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Good for him. Scarps.
I'm
any
glad he
predictions on
fed
this week?
you a bunch of burgers. That's fantastic.
Oh, Sean's
Yeah.
a great guy. The
Right
the
on.
White Castle in Indianapolis. I don't disagree, and I just remember I was buzzed up, but I remember walking under a trestle.
Yep.
Trestle.
Yeah, you walk like over this like river or stream, and then under railroad tracks, and it's pretty shady to walk there. Don't
it's
walk
shady.
there at 2
A
a.m.
gym
Yeah,
trestle?
it's shady. It's shady, but like once you get there and get a couple sliders, you feel good on the way home.
Oh yeah, it starts going away real fast.
All right.
Scarps, what do you got for prediction this week, man? Before we get to Casey
Wait a minute.
too.
Were we talking any more about the game, or are we done?
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I can start the
Colts
conversation
offense?
or keep it
Yeah.
going. So
Yeah, go.
All right, I'll start this. So the Colts offense, I think they have a decent offensive line. I think Jonathan Taylor's a really good running back. Their receiver group, I would actually take those guys over our guys at a heartbeat.
Fair.
Michael Pittman Jr. is really good. Josh Downs is good. Alec Pierce is good. And then they got a guy that really hasn't seen a lot of playing time, Mitchell, who's a early draft pick.
Mhm.
And then we get to their quarterback, who you're right. He's a guy that can make the most amazing throws you've ever seen and then not make the most routine throws you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I see him having the ability to take over the game. And I see him also as having the ability to throw 15 interceptions.
Yeah,
so-
that sums it up pretty well right there.
So their offense literally is boom or bust. And I know our rush defense is good, but if I'm them, I'm trying to establish Jonathan
bit.
Taylor
Yep.
as much as possible this game.
Okay.
I would agree with that sentiment. I think they'll use Taylor. I think they'll try to use short passing. But I don't know. Ben, what do you think? You wanted to talk a little bit more about this
I
one?
think they will try to establish Taylor because they need to, because
Mhm.
they need to keep the defense as honest as possible and not just have guys running right at Richardson, hitting him, even if he doesn't,
Right.
even if the ball is gone, hitting him anyway, which would be, something the Steelers would do, for example, against Lamar that's been effective. And also throwing the short pass, but we have safeties and corners and linebackers that have performed well in those situations. So I'm not super concerned about it.
Mhm.
Should they try to do it? Yeah, but I think if they do that, they're going to have a lot of 3 and outs. I think the only prayer the Colts offense has is if Richardson has one of those games where he's actually on. And if that happens, then we could be in trouble.
Mhm.
But there's even more potential for him being awful and getting into his own head. And as Scarf pointed out, like throwing 5 picks. Seriously, the dude is bad. I don't know how to, like, he can do some things with the ball that are absolutely fucking amazing. And then he can make some decisions where you're just like, dude, why did you do that? And why did you throw the ball there? Why? That was an easy pick. Why?
And he takes some shots too.
He does, and he's a big dude.
He is
with a big arm that can run the ball too. So I think they're going to have to spy him too with somebody because he will take off and run.
Yeah, you don't want to pressure him too much, and if you do pressure him, you want it to be from the edge, pushing him back inside, not flushing him to the outside.
So just a couple of things to keep an eye on here, statistical wise. He right now he's completing 49% of his passes.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Three touchdowns.
If it was 1973, that would be great.
Exactly. And so that's something to keep an eye on as that game progresses on Sunday. If you see his numbers are significantly above 50%, that's not going to be good. It's just,
I mean, 50% is shitty in the NFL. You know that.
Oh my God. I mean, you got to be in the upper 60s these days, right?
The thing that concerns me though is he's not afraid to push it downfield.
Right.
And we have not.
That's a good point.
Been tested that much downfield this year.
And the Chargers had guys open a couple times.
They did.
I'm not super concerned about it because of the amount of pressure that the Steelers get with 4 people, and I'm not overly impressed with the Indy offensive line. And so I think he's probably going to have to get the ball out in about 2.5 or 3 seconds, or run, which I think he'll do. I think there will be some designed runs to try and keep the defense honest.
Keep our guys at bay.
And Pittman's a good receiver, and actually, I think like Alec Pierce might be in line for a big game just because I'm like Beanie Bishop has been good in the slot, but I'm not 100% convinced in his coverage yet. So I could see Pierce like getting open, but I don't see these Colts receivers as like guys that are going to rattle off 70-yard touchdowns. Like they can get open down the field, but Pittman doesn't really have breakaway speed. He's a solid receiver. He's a very good receiver, but
he's a bigger Juju.
Yeah, I was just going to compare him to Juju.
That's a good way of putting it. Like
he's a bigger Juju. That's the dude. I mean,
without
breakaway speed, at least Juju had a couple of long touchdowns where he ran away from people.
He has the longest one in Steelers history.
That's right.
I don't think that Pittman can do that.
No, the only guy they have that can score anytime he touches the ball is Taylor. So like I could see us trying to stack the box and sell out a little more to stop the run to keep Taylor contained. And also to pressure Richardson and screw with his head and, spy him a little bit to keep him from running. That the good news is we've played Lamar twice a year, every year. So, we have a game plan for these quarterbacks that can run the ball, and it's worked out pretty well.
Right.
So
I agree.
we'll see. I mean, it's probably going to be a rock fight. I could see them hitting a couple big plays down the field. It's in
What's
a
a rock fight?
dome.
Yeah.
I
We do usually play well there, though.
We do.
Yeah.
We do play well there.
I don't know why.
I don't see the Steelers winning any games this year by more than 10 points.
No. We'll swing over to St. Elmo's there and grab
wait, we do play the Giants. I forgot.
Yeah.
Hold off. Said that wrong.
Yeah. Scarps?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay. Let's go predictions. Scarpino, what do you got for Sunday?
Yeah. I do agree that this can be a letdown spot.
Bit of a trap game, if you will, with Dallas coming in next week.
Hater.
I didn't even say my prediction yet.
I was talking to Mark.
No, I'm just simply saying.
Hater.
I agree with Ian or with Ryan.
He has struggled 2 weeks in a row against two decent defenses.
Who's he?
Anthony Richardson. Honestly, let's be honest. It all comes down to quarterback. But I do think that they're actually going to have some success running the football this game. Fuck, I don't know. It's a letdown spot, but I'm gonna go with 22-17 Steelers.
All right. Okay.
I was going to go 23-17 Steelers.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah.
So, God damn it.
Yeah.
So I'll take you both for 23-17
Well, hang on. Go ahead, Ian. Describe it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go 23-17. I think Richardson's good enough to produce a couple touchdowns with those splash plays, but also going to turn the ball over a little bit. The Steelers offense isn't there yet to be able to put up like 30 points, but with a couple turnovers, I could see us getting some good field position and cashing in, especially if Justin Fields is going to run that read option like he did on the goal line last week for the touchdown. Like, that's a nice play to have in your repertoire.
And he had one other one, and I know you guys know the play I'm talking about, where he might still be running.
Yeah.
And he missed it. He knew it as he handed it off. He knew it.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the other area where they haven't really had a splash yet is Fields rattling off like a 40 or 50 yard run. He's had some nice like 15, 20 yard runs, but I think
really all you
Colts,
need is a 15-yard run at a quarterback.
Yeah, the Colts run defense is so bad. I think we're going to be able to control the clock, and especially if we can get a couple turnovers, that I like our chances to win, maybe even get a defensive touchdown here. So I'll go 23-17 seems like a good number.
Ben, you seem to be pretty close to that.
Well, I'm gonna be different now, just for the hell of it.
Right.
If we actually get a defensive touchdown, we'd win by a lot, because again their run defense is so bad, and Tomlin, if he gets a lead, he's just gonna smash the shit out of them. He's gonna Willie Parker them to death. He is. He's going to be like, oh, I got a 10-point lead. Well, I'm running the ball. I'm just going to hang on to it. And you're not going to be able to score points because you're not going to have the ball. But that I don't know. Defensive touchdowns are pretty rare. So let's just say they get a pick and they control the ball the entire game, and they keep the Colts offense off the field. And the Colts offense isn't good anyway. So I'm going to say Steelers 23, Colts 13.
Okay, 23-13. He's at another 10-point win, if my maths are correct. I think it's going to be another good day for Chris Boswell. I think he's going to get 2 or 3 field goals.
Basketball, the NFL.
That's pretty funny, Ian.
That's exactly what it is, though.
It is.
You're right.
I will go.
It's Marty Ball, man. It's fucking Marty Ball. It's old
Marty Ball is what it is.
It's Marty Schottenheimer football, man.
26. I'll say 26-15. 26-15. 26.
How the fuck do you score 15 points,
I don't know.
man?
I just wanted to be different.
Gotta get a safety.
26-15.
2-point conversion. I don't know.
Point conversions. Who the hell knows? I think
great
he'll turn
question
it
by
over.
Philip.
Philip,
I think,
who's the ref? Ian, who's the ref this week?
I'm looking it up now.
Shit,
I should have done
You
that
know what
before
we
the
While we
show.
do that,
Seriously, we should
Yeah.
have Ian on every week just before Casey
Just
to do
talk.
the ref report.
while we
Ian
prepare
the
for
ref
Casey,
report, so Ian can talk about why he holds a grudge against this officiating crew.
while we get ready for Casey,
Yeah.
last year, week 4, on the road against an AFC South opponent, the Steelers lost 30-6 to the Houston Texans.
Was that week
Yep.
4? Wow. Seemed like it was earlier. By the way, we have Land Clark this
Yes.
week.
Land Clark did the Steelers Cardinals game last year when we lost to a shitty Arizona team in Pittsburgh. But that was also Kenny Pickett's last snap as a Pittsburgh Steeler game.
That's right.
Land Clark, C. Griswold.
Yes,
That's right. I forgot about that.
yeah.
I mean, the
Land-
problem last season, even though the Steelers managed to go 10-7, the biggest problem the Steelers had last season, until, and I hate to admit this, fucking Mason Rudolph came in, was quarterback play. The quarterback play was fucking shit. It was abysmal.
Yeah.
And if you don't have
Right
good quarterback
now,
play,
it's-
if you don't have at least competent quarterback play,
You don't
you
have a
can't
chance.
win in this. You cannot win in this league. You can't.
I want to take
Land
this
Clark
opportunity-
also did the Steelers Lions 16-16 tie a few years ago.
for
Oh, I
God's sakes.
fucking hate him already.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
so-
This isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
Guys, we haven't had Casey Kasem in the last 2 weeks, so I can't
Yeah.
tell you how much I'm looking
That's just
forward
because Scarves has bad
Uh,
priorities and doesn't
the-
love us.
to listening to the late great DJ. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Casey Kasem.
Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top 40. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was September 26th, 1988. Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back with us again this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, forgive me, it's been a while since my last letter, so I need to start this one off right. Casey, what has 9 arms and sucks? Def Leppard.
Oh, right out of the box.
For those of you that don't get that joke, Rick Allen will hand it to you.
Wow.
So will Robert Kraft and Deshaun Watson. Casey, let's get back on track. A few weeks ago, I felt like opponents do. Casey. Let's get back on track. A few weeks ago, I felt like opponents do when facing the Steelers defense. I had things coming at me and out of me at all angles. I gave a whole new meaning to yak yards. I was more disgusting. I was more disgusting than a Matt Canada coordinated offense. Casey, I had the pukes and shits. Casey, I was the TJ Watt of puking and shitting. I would have been the Myles Garrett of puking and shitting, but I actually puked and shit. There were no pretend pukes and shits, Casey. Speaking of shits, former Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett continues to be the topic of conversation following Justin Fields' 3-0 start to his Steelers tenure. Just when you thought the Picketologists were gone, they popped up like a cold sore on your lip on Skull Picture Day.
They prefer Kenny sexuals, man. Respect their choices.
Even Carmex can't get rid of Kenny Pickett. You need a special shampoo and no passing touchdowns for 3 straight games. Casey, Justin Fields hasn't been spectacular. He hasn't been great. He has been, say it with me, efficient. He's extended drives. He's converted third downs. He hasn't been afraid to use his legs. But hey, he didn't go to Pitt, so F him. The Picketologists were saying, when Kenny did this, you hated him. Well, Kenny never did what Fields has done. In fact,
Nope.
Fields did what no other Steelers quarterback has ever done in a single game in Atlanta. 70+% completion percentage, 90+ passer rating, and 50+ rushing yards. And his 65+ completion percentage and 90, in case you got shit in his throat. And his 65+ completion percentage and 90+ passer rating in 3 straight victories is something only Big Ben and Slash have done as Steelers. And I'm not talking about the Guns N' Roses guitarist. The funny thing about it is if Pickett just shut up and competed, he might have had these opportunities. But instead, he's asking you if you want your cheesesteak with whiz. I heard he's even considering a part-time gig as Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Wow.
Dan, I hope you're still watching this. I really do.
I'm not even mad at Kenny Pickett. I just can't take the Picketologists. You make it so easy to mock you. It's simply irresistible. Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And keep your radio tuned right where it is. Falling 5 spots to number 9 this week, here's Robert Palmer with Simply Irresistible.
I love it.
Well
a
done.
resounding return, Casey. A resounding return.
Matt Smith, I would be Marv Albert if I was wearing women's underwear.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Reggie Miller for 3. Yes.
Bozic,
My mute. Matt
Bozic,
Smith, my mute.
Gritty is a creepy fucking bastard, and you
He
know
is, man. He absolutely
He
is.
100% is, and the Flyers suck donkey balls. We all
I've
know
already-
this.
I've already tweeted out on the SCB _ podcast the what has 9 arms and suck line. That's out there now in the digital world, and that I did not have any idea where that was going when you first said it, and that was good. Wow. Anyway, we've got 4 Steelers victories between the 4 of us here. We think that's going to happen this weekend, and hopefully it does. Gives us another happy victory Monday. We've had 3 in a row, so why not another? Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. As always, we love all of you that whether you interact with us every single week or you catch the show on your own time, please continue to do so. Check out the website, steelcityblitz.com, and hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck. Still.
We're still